Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dr. Sam. We live in a world filled with so much information. We live in times where information, knowledge is in so much abundance. We have so many choices to make. We have so many decisions to make. We have so many options that are available to us. And sometimes this abundance and overflow of knowledge, of options, of choices has given rise to some form of anxiety. It has given rise to some form of feeling the pressure and the demand to be a certain type of person. It has given rise to what some of us could purely understand as mental illness. It has given rise or compromised our mental health. We have learned to live with so many voices, with so much information, so much knowledge, that we never really know what it is that we need to focus on. We've created a world where we struggle to silence the voices that no longer serve us. We struggle to reject the information that doesn't serve us. I have written a book called Mental Wealth. It is through my reflection that by design we are created as human beings with resources that enable us to silence, to shut down, and to change the things that no longer serve us. Mental wealth is realizing that we've got attributes in us created by God, the Creator, so that we are able to live in a world filled with so many things, but be able to make the choices that will be productive, progressive, and enable us to become people who dominate, subdue, and become successors. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dr. Sam.
This is Dr. Sam, your host for the Mental Wealth Show. Welcome to yet another Wellness Wednesday. I'm coming to you live on RTV Network, and you can catch us live on Android Fire TV, on Google Play Store, Apple Play Store, and you can also download our apps. Welcome to today's episode of the Mental Wealth Show. And on today's show, we really want you to reflect on what has happened on 2022. On this show, we really enjoy and really love having conversations centered to how you can live a life which is purposeful, productive, and you can really live a mentally wealthy life. So today we are focusing and reflecting on the power of reflection, looking at the year 2022. When the year 2022 started, we started off 21 months post the first day when we had a pandemic, a total shutdown. And when this year started, everyone wanted to synergize themselves into the new way of doing things. Others were still holding on to what was old, and others really wanted new things to develop, whether in business, whether in health, within whatever area of your life. So this year saw a lot of us globally moving and entering into this year very slowly. Some of the very important things that we have seen globally, as the McKinsey report reports, is that the health focus globally, whether it's in private practice, in governmental organizations or clinics, the health focus has shifted than what it was prior to the pandemic. This has seen that across continents, doctors, surgeons, even government organizations are putting at the forefront the health of their employees, the health of the human resource, and positioning really how do we provide a better health care or health facility. We have seen that globally, people more and more are providing so much information about how to take care of your health and how to live a healthy life. This is because we realize that through the pandemic, so many things can be achieved while you live your daily life. So when we're reflecting into 2022, looking at health, we realize that the greatest hashtags or moments of intersection in conversations was hashtag taking care of my health, taking care of my physical health, and taking care of my mental health. This year has really seen us realizing that health is not health without mental health. And in this mental wealth show, we really want people to live lives that are productive and preserving their mental capacity. Because we realize that without our mental fortitude, which includes your emotional, your physical, which includes the way you reason and how you navigate life, you can never fully function in a world. This world also has seen a rise in how people have committed suicide. People have been in hospitals because of mental health issues. And in this year, we saw that government and policymakers are changing the way we see health. The United Nations, for example, has put at the forefront how we take care of our mental health and how each institution, whether in work, in schools, in hospitals, we ensure that people's mental well-being is taken care of. So when reflecting in this year, one thing we have learned is to take care of our health, particularly our mental health, because we can never sacrifice that. We need it as long as we're alive. When we look onto the travel or looking into tourism, we realized that globally in 2022, we started opening up travel areas, tourism. I remember South Africa was one of the African continents that started accepting visitors to come, tourists to come. And we were also accepted to go into global spheres. And this was such a great opportunity for South Africans because this opened up businesses. This opened up the way in which we communicate and we learn from one another. Personally, for me, it was a great move when I actually had to go to the United States, and I learned a lot when I was there. So travel has really opened up for us globally, and through travel, really, we take care of our health, we take care of our mental health, and we also learn how other people are living. While we're in our travel destination, it is always of importance that we learn how other people do life, how other people actually live their best lives and live healthy, and we bring those things home to where we are. In South Africa, we've taken up on an international level where we see an influx of people coming to South Africa from a global sphere. So as we reflect in 2022, we see that as a country in South Africa and globally, the travel and tourism department has really drawn and upped their scales and sales and financial earnings in the year of 2022. It may have looked as if this year is also another gloomy year, but reports of tourism show us that it has been a progressive year in the industry of tourism. Another important part when we look and reflect in 2022 is looking at business and work, where most of the people or your human resource and what influence countries' GDP is at the forefront. When 2022 started, we were all skeptical. Economics were skeptical whether or not it would be another year where we do business as normal or we need to change how we do business. But as the year progressed and we went into the second term of the year, we realized that business was opening up and we were learning how to do business differently. One of the key things that McKinsey report really reports is how the workplace wellness was at the forefront of how we bring people back to work. Wellness is really important because this is at the core of how people can become productive, creative. And if we don't look at this, we compromise the productivity and the output of the company. Just before we carry on, I'd like for us to go to an ad break, and we'll just shortly come back to reflect on 2022 and realizing the power of reflection in 2022, also noting what we have learned globally in the spheres of health, business, economics, and education. I'll see you now in an ad break. This is Dr. Sam, your host for the Mental Wellness Show. It's a Wednesday Wellness. See you in a bit.
You know you are a hot one. We are lime, we are laugh, we are chat, we no chill, we are hot one. Temperature rise, beer vibes in ya, this a hot one. Link up, connect, bust a sweat when you're the fan, the hot one. We gonna spice it up like fire.
I'm Charles Meriday, and I'm in the restaurant business. In my 20 years as a chef and restaurant owner, I've been able to work and eat in some of the great kitchens around the globe. There's a whole side of the restaurant that most people will never get to see. So now, I want to take you to the back of the house, into kitchens of some of the best chefs in the world. Along the way, I'll share some of my own tips and recipes so you can cook like a pro too. So join me in the back of the house for a whole new perspective on cooking and food. Order in. Roger. Serve it, please.
Buona Pasqua.
I'm glad that you came, please.
I'm Dr. Sam, your host for the Mental Wealth Show. Welcome again to our another episode of the Mental Wealth Show. It's our Mental Wealth or Wellness Wednesday. Welcome. And today we are looking at the power of reflection. We are reflecting on what the year 2022 has been all about. When we look at 2022, we really realize, when we start to reflect, we realize that we have come to the end of the year. And we are just a few days away from Christmas. So there's so much power in reflecting because it enables us to look how far we've come and what else we need to do. We also realize what we've learned, the strides we've taken, the courage that we acted upon, and we come to realize that we've actually achieved more than we think we did. We also put into perspective how we started off the year and how we're ending off the year. And in reflection, we realize really that life is really what you make of it. So today we're focusing on reflection. And just before the ad break, we were talking about how business has opened up and it has enabled people to become innovative and create new ways of doing business. We have seen that businesses have moved on from just being in the office, and people are doing business more and more virtually. And what does this then mean to the global concept of health, global concept of living, and well-being of people? Earlier on, we also spoke about how people began in the year 2022, even though we started in 2021, realizing the importance of taking care of their physical health, their mental health. And one of the key points this year that I think every organization or individuals realized is taking care of your mental health or your mental well-being. Hashtag mental health matters. In this year, we've really seen a lot of celebrities, whether in Africa, whether globally in America, who have committed suicide, who have pronounced that they're struggling with mental health issues. The McKinsey report has reported that the scourge or the rise in the mental health difficulties or challenges is proposed or predispositioned by the environment that people live in and the environment they work in. So business, of course, has to change and be in a way which will be productive for your organization, because at the end of the day, you want to make the sales, you want to be productive. So one of the key businesses that really thrived in 2022 globally was the power and renewable energy businesses. I know in South Africa, we were really struggling when it comes to electricity and power. And some of the organizations or businesses that have been thriving are the ones that are providing power and renewable energy so that there's light and electricity and things can function efficiently across the continent. So as projected by the McKinsey, those are one of the businesses that are really thriving and bringing in the billions and making business make sense. Another key area or industry that McKinsey reported globally to be making and thriving in 2022 as we close off 2022 is the health and wellness industry. This is the industry where we see people online being fitness trainers, being qualified dietitians, mental health therapists, providing these services virtually. And through this, we realize that business is slowly changing. And as it changes, we need to move with the times. So reflecting on what 2022 has taught us is that we no longer need to do business as we used to. Business is no longer as it used to be, but business can continue and thrive even in this new paradigm. Another industry that really has thrived is the tourism industry. This is where we saw countries and continents opening up to tourists coming up again to visit their continents and their countries, also opening up business opportunities across the borders, across the continents. I remember one of our shows when we started off was Global Trade in a Changing World. So the world is constantly changing and the world is really at our fingertips because the world is global. The world is, we communicate through telephones, through the internet. I mean, today I'm broadcasting live from South Africa, and yet you can catch me on any continent as long as you have the Android or the Apple TV, you can catch us on our TV network. So 2022 has really seen and taught us really great lessons about how we move forward. I remember when the year started, there were economists that were telling us that business will never be the same. And I do agree. It was never the same, yet business, however, continued. One thing we could learn from 2022 is that no matter how difficult or dark or challenging the situation may be, it will always change, because change is a constant thing that happens each and every time. So looking on 2022, One of the key things that we learned is that knowledge is universal, and we can share knowledge through the internet, through communication, and we can learn different things from different people that would inform the way we live in different continents. That leads us to the next important area, which was really crucial in the year of 2022, education. Education took a different stride or slide, or education was done differently. I know in South Africa, children started going to school at least twice a week, and they could do school virtually, which also spoke to the challenges that we have in our continent. The accessibility, whether it's internet accessibility, whether it's having data and Wi-Fi and being able to communicate. And as much as this was one of the challenges and problems that we saw, there were companies in our continent that took a stride and solved these problems. What I really like about life in general is that wherever a problem is, someone is actually holding the solution to that problem, and it's just a matter of time until we fix it. And 2022 has really been a great teacher to teach us that things can change and someone has the solution to the problem that we have. If you're waiting for someone to change it and it's taking too long, you are probably the person to change the status quo. So when it comes to education, we've also seen a lot of inter-country changes, interchange students going to different countries. I know in South Africa, programs started opening up between South Africa and Australia, between Nigeria and America, and between Ghana and the United Kingdom. So the more we do life, the more we realize that we could do life with ease, which improves our well-being, which contributes to our knowledge, and we live mentally wealthy lives. So part of education was really realizing the power of the internet and the power of communication virtually that will bring education nonetheless, whether you're in Africa, in Ghana, in Brazil, in America, or in the UK. And as we draw closer to the year end, we realized that lots of people were becoming more social, and this was leading up to the World Cup. Not so long ago, the East hosted the World Cup, and a lot of people could travel to different countries. This was a great opportunity to do business. This was a great opportunity to even learn from the hospitality of different nations housed under one roof. So as the year drew to an end, we realized that as a global continent, we can always be brought together by sports, by loving, by experience, and by exploration of life. So the World Cup brought a lot of people to Doha, to Dubai, even though Dubai is one of the busiest places that tourists go to, but it became even more prominent during the time of the World Cup. Even though the World Cup wasn't there, but it was in the surrounding areas. And this opened up opportunities for the Middle East, for countries surrounding even the areas which were hosting the World Cup. So we realized that in 2022, as much as we started off at a slow pace. When we started and we were running with the year, we were more hopeful and we believed that we could achieve more when we come together. What I really like about life and interacting with people and having conversations, there's a wealth of knowledge that we learn. There's a wealth of intellect that gets interchanged and changed among people, and we begin to learn to do life differently. And one of the key things in 2022 that has led to a booming business is people just communicating virtually. We've seen the power of WhatsApp, we've seen the power of Telegram, we've seen the power of Facebook, Instagram. And these type of businesses brought a change to the world we live in. I do believe that 10 years ago, we didn't think that we'd live on social media as we do now. And at the start of the pandemic, this is where we all met up. This was our social field. This was our educational field. This was where we actually had our dinners with our family. So there's power in the internet that we're using. And we always need to be mindful that we use it to the best of our abilities. And in this show, we really want you to have a mentally wealthy life where we exchange knowledge, we learn from one another, and we get to know what happens in different continents, like across Africa, across America, across the United Kingdom. And as we go through the year, I realized that so many people didn't see this year panning out the way it did. And that teaches us something about the year. That teaches us something about life in general. You can always plan the way you want to plan. You can always have critics that project what the life will look like in that year. You can also even be the one who's projecting your own life, whether positively or negatively. But things won't always pan out as you see them in your mind, which means there are other skills besides goal setting, projection, reflection that we need in order to thrive in the world we live in. And that is the ability to live with change. That is the ability to rise above the changing times. That is the ability to lead your own life. As we come to the close to this episode, I'd like to share with you that one of the critical things I've learned this year is knowing how to develop myself. Personal development is key for any person in any industry, no matter what age you are in. When you develop yourself personally, you enable yourself to live in changing times, in times which are stressful, in times which are really putting a pressure and a demand on you, in times which could be like a pandemic when we don't know what to do. And some of the key areas is really knowing how to manage your stress. 2022, people have learned a great deal on how to manage their stress, how to manage their emotions, overall, how to manage their anger and pressure. This does not only speak to relationships, this really speaks also to the workforce. The McKinsey report stated that a toxic work environment is the leading cause of burnout in an organization. The leading cause of the organizational force, which is the human resource, to have burnout. So part of what we need to change really is to change personally. So be a person who personally develops themselves. When we reflect through the year and what has happened, also reflect on your personal abilities, inabilities, and capabilities that will make you thrive. Since we've looked at and reflected on the year 2022, what do you think you need to change? What do you think you need to work on so that whatever 2023 may bring, you are ready and equal for it? We are human beings, and each and every day we contribute to the way we do life. We contribute to our own thoughts. We contribute even to the people around us, whether at work, whether in our family homes. So it's of vital and critical importance that you take care of yourself, even the thoughts you think, even the words you speak, even the very information that you give yourself and position yourself in the world. I am Dr. Sam, your host for the Mental Wealth Show. Thank you so much for joining us today on our Mental Wealth Show on our Wellness Wednesday. We were looking and reflecting on 2022. We've reflected today. What are you going to do that's going to change your world? What are you going to do that's going to project a world that is wealthy for you? I'd like to wish you a Merry Christmas with your family and a happy new start to the new year. You have the power to change your world. You have the power to change how you are, and you can do that through personal development. 2022 has been an amazing year. We've learned lessons, and just like the surfer, we are learning how to love the tides. And just like an eagle, we're enjoying the sun rays and the wind that blows beneath our wings. And just like an aeroplane, we are learning that when we are taking off, there'll always be an equal resistance for our takeoff. But nonetheless, we'll take off and we'll soar and we'll rise. Thank you so much for being with us today on our Mental Wealth Show. I'm Dr. Sam. See you next year, 2023. All the best. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
I used to watch BET, MTV, VH1, now I watch Tempo. Soca, Calypso, Reggae Dancehall. Don't stall, better get tuned in to the tempo. Don't have cable, they got an app. Go to your app store, download that. Whether it's tourism, cuisine, or the social scenes, if it ain't Tempo, it's a rap. Who got the Caribbean views? Tempo. It's the latest in Caribbean news. Tempo. You tryna cook Caribbean food? Tempo. You know they got the music videos too. Tempo. Who got the Caribbean views? Tempo. It's the latest in Caribbean news. Tempo. You tryna cook Caribbean food? Tempo. You know they got the music videos too. Tempo.